Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week, and I want to get something out of the way really quickly. I know that the new season of The Ultimate Fighter has started, but I'm just not going to be reviewing it. For one thing, I forgot it was on this week, even though I knew it was on this week, I just completely forgot about it. For another thing, I won't really have enough time to do it. So, fuck it, not doing it, because no one really cares about the show anymore. I try to, but I don't know. I like Conor McGregor. Well, I don't like Conor McGregor. I like Michael Chandler. I tolerate Conor McGregor sometimes when he's not being a complete dick. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I'm not going to be doing that show. I'm going to keep doing this one, though. I've got 5 albums to go through, so let's go through them. We begin with AJJ, which once stood for Andrew Jackson Jihad, with their new album Disposable Everything. This is a band I heard about weirdly through a YouTuber's Discord server, because there's a person there who's recommended some pretty good music, and one of them was AJJ's, previous album of theirs, titled "People Who Can Eat People Are the Luckiest People in the World," and I need to listen to it because it's been recommended to me. But that's a longer while ago than this one. I really liked it though. These are an anti-folk sort of folk punky group. I'm giving this one an A. I thought this was an absolutely incredible album. It did have it felt a bit like listening to Spanish love songs is Brave Faces Everyone in a way, because that's the only Spanish love songs album I've heard. But a bit more like, I guess, fun in tone, I guess is the term I'd use. It's a slight bit more immature, but not in a overbearing way. It's actually done in a very fun way. There's some really good lyricism about the music industry and the depression of the post-pandemic era that we're currently in. Considering that the band's album before this came out in 2020, you can sort of feel that vibe from this one. There's some really good production as well. I like the performance of the lead singer, whose name I can't remember for the pissing life of me. He is absolutely fantastic, though. I really like a lot of the acoustic instrumentation and how it takes more of a center stage with this one. I've noticed. I say that as though I've listened to an AJJ album before. I know I haven't. I do plan on fixing that though. But I like the more acoustic sort of vibe. However, I do still very much enjoy the heavier punk work as well. Structuring's really good too. I feel like it does consist of a few too many shorter songs, but they still tell incredible stories. There's still a lot of really good tone and emotion, and it's very, very consistent in spite of it's got 14 songs and it's only about 36 minutes long of an album. It could have been maybe balanced out a bit better, but as is, I really don't mind it. I think it's got some really good shit going for it, and yeah, I find this to be a really good album, so worth giving a spin. Next is Drain with their second album, Living Proof. I did hear about their previous album back in 2020, I just didn't listen to it. So I gave this one a listen. This is a hardcore punk group. They're a very new act as well, in case you can tell from this being their second album. Giving this one a B+, I thought it was some really solid stuff. I thought it was very big and beefy and heavy. I like a lot of the instrumentation to it. It's very fast-paced for the most part. There's elements of more classical sort of punk rock stuff, and even some bits of pop and rap and some weird experimentation, which I found actually kind of worked. It's the shortest album from last week as well. It's only around about 25 and a half minutes long, not even that long. But I quite liked a lot about it. I thought the instrumentation hit really hard. I liked the sort of lyricism, the main theme of just defending your belief and things like that. Really good performances. I quite like the production. I thought it was nice and crunchy. I thought the structuring, again, a little bit short, but didn't feel uneven in the slightest. Had some really good build to it, and the experimental lilt that it takes from time to time, I think that works really well for it as well. So yeah, another one I can recommend you go give a spin. Next is Hanging Garden with The Garden. This one came out back in March. These are a Finnish melodic, doomy, gothic metal band. And this one actually took a couple of listens. I think the only album I didn't listen to more than once from last week was Drain's album. Actually, no, I did listen to that one more than once. I remember now. But we're talking about this one. I'm giving this one also a B+. I thought it's a really lovely elements to it as well. It's got some incredible storytelling. I like the folklore that goes into it. I like the theme of death and life. I think that's the main theme at least, and the theme of gods and things like that. It's got some really good performances. I love the vocal combo of the husband and wife, because they're the two sort of main vocalists. They are absolutely exceptional. Everyone else is really good too. I like the drummer. I quite like the guitarist as well. A lot of keyboard work on it, but it's not overbearing in the least. Really works well with the melodic lean of the sound. And I wish more doom metal bands did this for their doom metal, because I'm tired of it being sounding super gloomy with the keyboard being as heavy as it is, being as heavy focus as it is. It feels a bit more light and breezy. I quite like that. I don't know about you, but I quite enjoy it. See, I've gone over those. The performances a little bit. Production's really nice, very smooth for a very long album as well in terms of structuring. It cranks in a lot of stuff. Got a really good focus on the storytelling and really good build and payoff when it counts. Yeah, a lot of really good shit going for it, and another one I recommend you go and check out. You know, it's a bit of a long set, but it's still worth it. Next is the album I'm looking forward to talking about the most, though, which is Incendiary's new album, Change the Way You Think About Pain. It's their first album in 6 years, and I'm very excited because, you know, this is the only band on this list I did a backtracking episode about. And to no one's shock, I'm giving this one an A+, highest grade of the episode. And literally the highest grade I can give because I don't book to A++ or A or S tier, you know. I keep things normal. Like whenever I give a 5-star match for a wrestling match that happened in my EFED, I only go for 5 stars, okay? And only when it's really earned it. You know, I'm not going to give it 5.25 just because it happened on an AEW house show, Meltzer. Anyway, my thoughts ran off quite a bit there. Anyway, really love the instrumentation and heaviness, and there's a bit more of experimental, almost theatrical vibe to things, and it's a slight bit more melodic, but do not get that twisted with it being bad at all, because, you know, melody is never a bad thing. But, like, it's so punchy with the heavier moments, too. It's such an intelligently thought out album in terms of its lyricism as well. Like, using the theme of pain as a metaphor for dealing with the daily bullshit of life and societal stuff, and depression and pain and anger and violence as well. And the performances, all really great. I don't think this band has ever changed a member, which is impressive considering that they've been around for more than 10 years. I know that much. It might be more than 20 by this point. I think they formed around 2007. I wish I could remember that far back. But no, yeah, this is an absolutely incredible album from that standpoint as well. The performances are great. Brendan Garone has really stepped up in terms of his vocals. I like the production as well. It sounds absolutely amazing. Will Putney did it, which is automatically a fucking win in my book because Will Putney is great. And structuring is really good too. It did take a while for me to get used to it, but once I started falling into the vibe of it, again, for an album that's not very long, just under half an hour, really loved the things that they threw at the wall because they do experiment a little bit more with the sound and it really, really works for them, but they do not compromise what makes them such a really good fucking hardcore punk band in the first place, so 100% go and check this one out. And finally, and the album I was looking forward to talking about the least, but not for any bad reason, is Invent Animate with their new album Heaven, and this one also came out back in March. So, the reason I know this album exists, right, is because whenever I keep reading reviews of The Death We Seek by Currents just to see if they share the same thoughts as I do, and they do, but their scores could be a bit high because the album is perfect. But I see a lot of people comparing it to Invent Animate's new album. I was like, alright, I'll go listen to it. I like it. I'm giving it a B. It's the lowest grade of the episode. From a technical standpoint, right, and from, I guess, a more heavy standpoint, it is a notch or two above The Death We Seek. It's got some really good songwriting. I like the lyricism to it. I think the performances are really great. Lead singer Marcus Vick has some really good emotion to his voice. I would argue he's a better, more versatile vocalist than Brian Will from Currents. I will stand that. But this album lacks the beating heart that The Death We Seek has. It just lacks the lull of the emotion, and it doesn't really risk a lot either. It feels, for lack of a better term, uninspired. I don't get me wrong, I do like it, you know, but why gets a big rate? It's got some really good riffs. I like the lyricism, I like the main theme of love running through it as well. It's really good songwriting, very heartfelt in some places, you know. The performances are really good. I like the production, I think it's very clean and smooth. I don't mind structuring either. I do find it to be a bit weird and it feels like some of the songs do drag a bit, but as it goes, it's got some really good stuff going for it. But it just lacks that cohesion that I really, really, really like on The Death We Seek. And I guess I am going to prefer The Death We Seek because I heard that before I even heard about this album existing. So that is on me, but it's still an absolute recommendation of a listen, and it's the lowest grade, but it's a B. I mean, it's still a really fucking good grade, and it's still one you should listen to. If you listen to this before The Death We Seek, and you prefer it over The Death We Seek, I completely understand. I listened to The Death We Seek before I listened to Heavener. I prefer The Death We Seek, but this album is still really good too. So there you go. And that will about do it. My ranking list, and as the fucking comments come to torch me, is Invent Animate with Heavener, Drain with Living Proof, then Hanging Garden with the Garden, AJJ with Disposable Everything, and then Incendiary Trains with Change the Way You Think About Bane. But as always, go back, listen to all these from the past weekend. They're all pretty fucking solid. It was a really good weekend of music, to be honest. I mean, if the lowest grade is a B, that's a really good fucking weekend of music. And I know two of these albums came out like 2 months ago, but I really needed shit to pad out last weekend because there wasn't a whole lot I was looking forward to. But still, really, really good stuff. All of them worth checking out. Reminder again, I'm not doing the Ultimate Fighter this year because fuck it, who cares? I don't. Next thing you'll see me for will be tomorrow night, the Midway show leading to Reverence on PPW vs AVW. Thank you to everyone who watched the last stream. The return stream, even though it was a little bit scuffed and a little bit weird, and cursed with that triple threat at AVW, Jesus wept, it was still a lot of fun. So, you know, I recommend you go check it out for that reason alone. And yeah, tomorrow's that. The next video might be Fight of the Night this Sunday, because there wasn't a fight card at all last weekend, so I didn't have to do anything. Cracks knuckles. So yeah, I'll likely see you Sunday in this form, but I'll likely see you'll likely hear me tomorrow night on my Twitch channel. So that'll be how I do it. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.